Nobody's here, obviously, but it is time. So today we are going to continue open discussion for a while. Do I see any? Yeah, the one that have the meeting's not here, so. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Representative Smith.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Last Friday, I mentioned one of the issues that we had talked about was the makeup of the board, the GMD boards. And that is in the bill. And I guess I'm kind of wondering if I could propose an amendment. I know I don't have anything written, but here's my idea. I think we ought to set, I don't like the fact that it says you can have 5, 7, or 9. I think we ought to settle on a number. And if we say 7, I would suggest we have 2 from agriculture, 2 from municipal, and the rest at large. That would be my suggestion. And I'm open to any kind of amendments to that, but I think that gets the discussion started.
Well, during the discussion the other day, I revealed that I will have an amendment to pull that section of the bill out, and that we would have an interim committee in the summer to deal with that. So other than the reporting pieces, both for the financial and for their plans. Representative Murphy.
I had a good discussion on the drive home Friday with the head of my GMD 5, and he was. I asked him because I didn't really understand how all the reporting went and everything, and of course they don't really get their final numbers till the middle of February, which is kind of late for us. And we did discuss that maybe some numbers we would need would be available, just not the audit numbers, like that. But I was on township board for a number of years, and it's basically kind of like the townships, and they have to have their final numbers in the middle of August. So that's kind of what their time frame is, and so they're not going to. They're just incapable of getting the real numbers that we need, for in time, because they just don't have them, in time. So that was an issue that he was concerned about, and I said I think we can work with that. We need to get it in part of the conversation.
We did discuss that briefly, and Representative Howerton's going to work on the wording. We're going to have the most recent audited, so it'll be a year late on that one, but we'll also have the unaudited for that year as well. So I think it'll still work with the wording.
That'll work as long as we understand what the deal is.
Yep. Representative Riley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm glad that you're going to pull this out whenever you make that motion. I know there's a concern about the different numbers of who's on the board. Personally, going back to local control, I don't think that we should be setting that number. Each one of these water districts has different counties that they're part of, and I think based on that, they've already kind of figured out what they need for representation, so I don't think we need to be controlling that. But I'd like to be part of that conversation.
Interim committee will deal with that. Representative Newland, since you asked for the meeting.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. One of my biggest concerns at this moment is the fiscal note on this. And I didn't know if anybody had time to put something together that would actually give us a good idea of what this bill would cost.
Well, the costs have been given to us by the agencies. And we've been given those numbers, and in addition, I had Tony send out to you this morning the cost, what would be needed, and so forth.
I apologize, I haven't seen that this morning.
And it's also on the S drive.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Howerton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Not to open a can of worms, but I think that's why we're here today. It's been, I guess, in my conversations that I've had, the structure of how the new department would work has been a concern, and I'm just asking for a clarification on. We're basically just pulling these departments under one new secretary, and they would all technically work the same. Is that my understanding?
That is correct.
Okay.
Physical locations do not change.
So nothing changes, they report to the same people, but there's just going to be a secretary over all of it now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Adams. Representative Smith.
One of those. I'm new here, so it's okay. Mr. Chairman, I apologize. I left my computer in my office and I was trying to pull it up on my phone to pull up that graphic from the Division of the Environment. But I guess I'd like to have a discussion about pulling perhaps just the Bureau of Water and any other of the subdivisions that deal specifically with water into the new department. It seems like there's some divisions in the what is currently KDHE Division of Environment, air quality, hazardous waste. I can see where they have some connection to water safety and the clean water, but I guess I just wonder about there's a lot of things in the Division of Environment, the health labs, things like that, that perhaps would make more sense to stay with our public health agency and KDHE or just KDH, whatever the new agency would be. But I guess I'd just like to know some of the reasoning why we're pulling all of that into the new proposed Water and Environment Division.
Well, primarily the reasons were for where the money flowed. And that was the primary reason. But it is open for discussion and also for an amendment if you wish. Representative Stogsdill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think Representative Adam has, he and I have some of the same concerns about this. I looked at this flow chart that we have now under the Secretary, and we have a Director of the Division of Water and Environmental Planning, Division of Environment and Conservation, Division of Water Resources, and yet the topic of clean water and wastewater disposal is pretty far down the list on this under the Director of Division of Environment and Conservation. I think that if we're going to have directors up here, clean water and wastewater disposal should be under a separate director. You know, that issue impacts every citizen in the state of Kansas, and every part of the state is going to have to deal with how can we maintain clean water, how can we process wastewater all across the state. I think it's a huge issue. I think it's an issue that will impact all of us. I think the representative from the Sierra Club that came in and said, you know, if you don't have clean drinking water and good ways to process wastewater, none of the rest of this matters. So I would like to see us discuss whether 3 directors are enough. I would like to see a director of drinking water and wastewater management inserted in this.
Thank you for that. I see an amendment coming. Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Calling back to the Division of Conservation's testimony as well, I definitely understand their reasoning in terms of not necessarily wanting to be put in with the Division of Environment for KDHE, so I would be open to bringing them out of that partnership that has been created under this new reorg to either create just a separate division of conservation within this new organization. So wanted to open that up for discussion too. Thank you.
It's going to be busy. Representative Schmidt.
I won't belabor the point, but I want to second and third and fourth those comments because I think environment encompasses a lot of things, and I would like to see that maybe in the water office just dealing with clean water and keep environment in KDHE.
Further comments? Representative Newsom.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would ask that everybody would look into a committee that was formed a few years ago, the Blue Ribbon Committee, and look at the results of what happened and what came out of that committee. I think there's a lot of promise and all that could come out of that. So I would encourage everyone just to look at that and get their thoughts on it. Thank you.
Good suggestion. Look back over it. Everybody should take a look at it. Anything else? Representative Howerton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Where do we access that? Okay, thank you.
Can you tell us what day that was on the S drive? Okay. Yeah, it may have, I can't remember whether we put it down in other further suggested reading or whatever, but it's in there somewhere, and they will let us know by email where it is. Representative Vaughn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Was just hoping to address one other thing that came up in testimony a little bit and that I think is an important component of this bill in the short term, and that's the dam safety and stream obstruction language that's incorporated. And to kind of break that down, it's my understanding with a lot of the dam safety, which is creating a civil penalty for not updating dams that are in a potentially hazardous state. And I may call on the chief engineer if at the will of the chair to better explain it than me, but it's my understanding that those owners of those dams have failed to take action for a while, and so this just kind of creates an enforcement mechanism, allowing them still to take that action on their own, but creating an ability of the state to ensure that those changes get made just to prevent the further deterioration of those dams at the potential harm of the surrounding community and people. So I do think that element is important, as well as creating the Dam Safety Emergency Fund. And I think that is, the idea behind that is to create a fund where some of these dams are in disrepair and need immediate attention, but there's not necessarily money allocated in the budget for that at a given time. So it gives just a tiny bit of discretionary money to the Division of Water Resources to address immediate concerns around dams. So I think that's a really important provision. And then with the stream obstruction, it was my understanding that under current law, certain elevated roads, which can create, quote, a dam, but don't necessarily qualify under the regulatory dam provisions or the need to regulate because it's just a road. They're continually getting permission to not have that regulatory action, but then it's creating a lot of paperwork and additional things that are unnecessary. So I think that language is just to clarify that elevated roads are not dams. And I think the final component was the allowing, and this was referred to by the Society of Civil Engineers, I believe, which was allowing dam inspections to be conducted by someone under the supervision of a dam or of an engineer as well as the engineer. And I think I could be open to discussion on that, or I am open to discussion on that. But I think that was done just because they have a limited budget and it allows more work to get done without impact to the actual work that is conducted. So I just wanted to open those things up for discussion as well and see if people had comments or thoughts on those elements. Thank you.
On the first topic, I've been talking to Budget Committee members, and the dam safety, both the 150,000 and the 50,000 for the emergency fund, will be dealt with in the subcommittee today. So we may have that taken care of.
Mr. Chair, we might still need to create the mechanism for housing those funds. I could be wrong on that, but thank you.
And then on the rest of it, I think we all received the emails from the civil engineers about that topic. We may have tightened up that language a little bit. We need to visit with them a little more and the DWR to see what kind of language may be acceptable to most everyone. Nothing will ever be everyone. You did not get that email? I will see that you get it before the day is over. Okay? I will forward that email to everyone. Remind me when we get back, Tony. Further comments? All there's left to say is get your amendments ready. We will start working the bill the Monday, or not Monday, but the Tuesday we get back after turnaround.